What's going on, everyone? It's Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. I wanted to talk to you all today about the 10 things to think about before you get into government contracting. Now, I know that a lot of us are just like maybe just hearing about government contracting. Maybe you work for the government, and you saw all the contracts that were coming through, and you're like, how in the world are these people getting paid this amount of money to do this thing? Maybe you've been doing something for a very, very long time, and you're just trying to figure out how to scale. I want to give you 10 things to think about before you start government contracting. So let's get into it. So number one, do you have mobilization funding? And what is mobilization funding, Sheena? Basically, it's the funding that you need in order to start this contract or even fund this contract to continue on throughout the duration that you have to do it. So sometimes it might be a one and done where it only takes, a day, and there might be some logistics involved, or it might be something that goes on. It's a milestone type contract, and you need to be able to buy materials. You need to be able to pay your people for a period of time, especially when you're talking about skilled labor. Usually people are not going to go 3 weeks without getting paid. So do you have the funding to pay them before you even get paid? And a lot of contracts are going to be net 30. It's going to be net 30 from the end of an event or a delivery, or net 30 from the time you start. So let's say it's a milestone, what's called a milestone contract. That means that, you're going to be working not for 5 years, but it might be done in around 4, 6, 9 months. And so you get paid after each milestone. So let's just say it's construction, for example. If it's foundation laying and you have to have a certain amount of the foundation laid or concrete poured, then you'll probably, you invoice for that. So you have the materials, or you can ask for an advance, which is something that is a little, you may not get an advance, but let's just say you have the funding, you're able to get the funding, you know how to get the funding, your subcontractor that you're going to be using has the funding. Then once the concrete is laid, then you can invoice for that. That may be within 30 days and maybe after 30 days. But a lot of times, depending on if you're working for another prime or if you're working for the federal government, you may be able to do milestone payments before, or milestone invoicing for 30 days. So that's something that you have to ask yourself. Do you have enough to mobilize this contract? And it may just be enough to get the materials and your subcontractor can take care of everything else. Or if you are running this business, then you could take care of everything else. But I would just say to ask yourself, what am I getting into and how much would it be for me to start? Because it varies. If you have a product, then you can easily, not easily, but you can go into a smaller product or a smaller quantity of a product and be able to, buy it up front, no problem, whether it's wholesale or retail, and be able to purchase it and wait for your money. So mobilization funding is a huge factor, and it does block a lot of people from starting in government contracting, but that's the number one thing you need to think about when you are getting into government contracting. So the number two thing is, do you have a team? A lot of us, including myself, had started solo dolo, just me by myself. Second person that I had was my daughter. She did exceptionally well, but she didn't want to push paperwork for forever, so I had to let her live her life. And she started with me when she was 14, and she did very, very well. I did virtual assistants overseas. I did virtual assistants here in the U.S., like a referral from a staffing company. I did admins that I've hired through Indeed and other methods, through family and friends who could recommend someone. You never really quite know. I've had tremendous success on Indeed for my executive staff and for our actual our laborers. And so that's Indeed works for us. I have found a couple of people through some veteran resources that I use and programs that I attend, but really Indeed has been a great factor for us. And also Belay. Belay is a virtual assistant company, and they're here in the U.S. All of their virtual assistants are U.S. based. That may not be important to some people. That's important to me, especially working for the federal government. Sometimes the language barrier can be an issue for most people and the time of day that they work. Now, I found that when I had overseas virtual assistant for what I needed them to do, the time difference was just too much. It was about a 12-hour time difference, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the Philippines. And they all, they can vary. If you have someone in a different place, it might just work fine for you. Whatever works for you. But Indeed and Belay, and I'll put a link for the Belay in the description. I did another video about them that I'll also link in the description about Belay and how they operate. Find all the talent for you. You don't have to worry about going through the interview process, which could be extremely grueling. But you have to ask yourself, do I have a team in order to make this work? Whether it's a subcontractor or just someone to help you do admin work or any other, checking emails. Some of us hate being behind the computer all day. And so that you might hire someone to do that for you, or to find bids for you, or whatever, source bids for you. So you have to ask yourself, am I ready to take on this type of contract without a team? So that's a big one. That's the number 2 thing you need to think about before you get into government contracting. So number 3 is, do you have bonding capacity? Now, bonding, I'm going to keep this part really, really short because a lot of people don't need bonding. Bonding is usually going to be for construction, and I've even seen it for janitorial before. That was a long time ago. But bonding capacity is almost like a second layer of insurance, and it goes by your credit. Sometimes you have to put a down payment, blah, blah, blah. But you have to find out that for your industry, are you bondable? Because there are some industries where you need to be bondable in order to do that type of work. So if you're looking at solicitation, and you see must have a bonding capacity of, X amount of dollars, $100,000, $1 million, and you're like, what the heck is a bond? Then you need to either start doing some research about how to get a bond, or you need to, need to be bondable, or go to a different industry that doesn't require a bond. So that's the number 3 thing. So the number 4 thing, do you have proper insurance? Insurance is going to vary, not that greatly, but it's going to vary depending on what industry you're in. Generally speaking, for general liability insurance, that's going to cover basically all businesses, and you just tell them what business, you tell the insurance agent or broker or company or what type of company that you have, and then they will, issue you the proper insurance. I haven't ever heard of anyone saying that their insurance was more than $100 a month. For facility management, I think we put janitorial and like flooring, and that was about $70 a month. I haven't seen anything really over, I think 90 was the highest I heard, but I'm just saying 100 just in case. But really, you just need to have general, if you really plan on doing this for real, like you really trying to do this, just have that general liability insurance already ready to go. A lot of solicitations will just state that you have to have the insurance upon award. So, you can wait, but I mean, it's better to have it, especially if you're doing a lot of solicitations at once, and you want to just make sure you have it and you don't have to worry about trying to get it last minute. Now, when it comes to commercial auto, we ask to get that waived because we don't have commercial vehicles. We use subcontractors, and a lot of times the things that we do, our workers are driving their own vehicles. So when I see the solicitation and it's not too late for the question period, or even if it is too late for the question period, and they're requiring commercial auto insurance, and you do not have commercial vehicles, I ask them to take that off. Take it off. A lot of times they're doing copy and paste. Ask them to waive that because you don't have commercial vehicles. Now, the alternative, they may say they want to be added as an additional insured on your personal vehicle. Now, I have done that. There was no cost to do it. I'm not sure if your insurance company requires you to pay. I don't know. They're not all created equal, but it didn't cost anything for my company. I have USAA, and I just added them as an additional insured. No biggie, no harm, no foul, but I do ask them to waive that commercial auto. And then workers' comp is probably going to be your biggest expense, and there's a lot of different ways that you have to do this. So I would just say reach out to an insurance broker or an agent like that does, business insurance, and just make sure that you're covered, because the last thing you want is for someone to fall on the job and then they're suing you for a gazillion dollars that you don't have. So it's better to just have it and, charge that to the game, and make sure you make enough money to cover all these expenses that are gonna be in place before you even start. Look at all the insurances that are on these solicitations, and you'll see, the different industries will have different types of insurance, but those 3 that I just named are pretty much standard across the board. There are some professional insurance plans that maybe if you do consulting or something like that. So you just have to read and make sure that you want to even go into that industry if you consistently see the same type of insurance and you're like, I am not paying for that. So that's up to you. That's how you do your business, and that's how you have to, decide whether or not you want to do government contracting or which industry you want to go into. So the number 5 thing is, do you have a quality insurance or safety program? Now, this is going to be more, of course, for services. But really, quality control covers everything, right? Just in case this happens, this is the fail-safe plan. So I gave an example on a couple of my previous videos, if you got a chance to check any of them out, that even if you're delivering products, let's say you're delivering paper to a school system, and there's no, basically you have a sub that is probably inexperienced or doesn't care, whatever the case may be, and they just drop the paper outside the building in the Georgia rain, in the springtime when it rains every single day, and there was no quality control plan to make sure that there was someone to receive the items, they probably dropped it off on a weekend or something, and you didn't even think about, oh, well, they're a professional, they know what they're doing. You need to have a quality control plan for your company to make sure things are being delivered appropriately, right time, right day, the right circumstance. The right circumstance meaning that if it has to be delivered, this pallet of paper has to be delivered outside, that it's covered with a tarp or something. Like, you never know what people are going to do. Like, I'm going to give an example. This is not nothing to do with like government contracting, but someone was sending me a gift, right? And I gave them my business address because I was not giving them my home address. And it was from Amazon, okay? And my business address is a UPS box, like a UPS, store. You can use it, and it's like a real address. And Amazon left it outside of UPS, like outside in the elements in the middle of a plaza. Like, I'm so glad that the person actually sent me a screenshot when it was delivered, because it's right up the street. So I just had to zoom up there and hope nobody stole my stuff. Like, what? And this is Amazon we talking about. So I know they can't always have a code to the door or whatever. But damn, Amazon, y'all dropped a gift outside. Anybody could have just been like snatched, and nobody would have. Lord, I'm just really... Whoo, that really boiled my potato. But I'm just saying, like, those type of things happen even when we all know and love Amazon, and it still happens. So you have to make sure when you're delivering these products or services to an agency that you consider all the factors. And when it comes to services with quality control plan, what happens if someone calls out sick? What happens if someone doesn't show up? What happens if somebody does something, not good? Who's going to replace them? The agency doesn't give a damn about this person being sick. They're like, how are you going to fix this? Company, prime contractor, how are you going to fix this? That's how that process works. So that's the number 5 thing. So the number 6 thing is, do you qualify for any set-asides? So if you are a woman, you qualify for woman-owned small business automatically right out the gate. If you are a veteran, then you qualify for the veteran-owned. If you're service disabled, then you qualify for the service disabled veteran-owned out the gate. If you are now... There's different ones for federal, there's different ones for local, different ones for corporate. So I did a few videos about the difference in certifications and set-asides. But if you, and they're not all created equal, but that's you got to look at those videos to see why. But being a woman, being a minority, being a veteran, being in a hub zone, that's also another certification that a lot of people just don't take advantage of or don't understand. But if you are... Your office is physically located in a hub zone, and then 35% of your employees are located in a hub zone. And that's like, it could literally be if you're an employee and you have one other employee, and that other employee or you live in a hub zone, that's over 35% of your employees. So then it doesn't have to be the same hub zone as the business. It could be any hub zone. So then you'll qualify for the hub zone certification. So just pay attention to, of course, if you're a woman, of course, if you're a veteran, of course, you're a minority, all those, or disadvantaged, that's a DBE, minority is MBE, but MBE doesn't really cross over to federal contracting, but different certifications for different lanes, federal, local, corporate. Again, I did multiple videos on that, so please just check those out if you don't understand what set-asides are. So that is the number 6 thing that you need to think about before getting into government contracting. So the number 7 thing is, do you have any other type of certifications like CMMI, ISO, LEED, any of those type of certifications? They could give you like a tremendous competitive advantage. And let's just say you're doing education, for example. I did an interview with Alvarys, and she's in education, and she has multiple degrees in multiple disciplines. So you having even a degree in a certain discipline can give you a huge competitive advantage in order to submit for contracts or to win contracts. And if you have some of these certifications that I mentioned, like ISO and LEED, then you can, or like green cleaning certification, and there's several others. There's lots of them depending on what you do. But you can also use those as your competitive advantage. Like if you already have them, oh shoot, I didn't know I could do government contracting. Use that to your advantage as a way in to get, certain types of contracts, because some agencies are willing to pay more knowing that you have those certifications. So that is the number 7 thing. And so the number 8 thing, and this is going to be, like something you need to think about internally. Are you in this for the long haul? And I talk about this a lot because this is not a fly-by-night type industry. There's other industries that you can do that with. This ain't that. If you're really trying to get into this, even if you're doing it for a shorter time, it's still going to be probably like a year's time between winning, finding out how to do it, and then winning, executing, finishing, all those things. That's going to be over a year. So that's not a get rich quick type thing. Now, you might get rich pretty quickly compared to other things, but it's not an overnight thing. It's not, some people blew up on TikTok and YouTube in 1 day, 2 days, and now they got endorsements in 2 weeks. This ain't that. This is like the long haul. Like, you're building a business. I always say building a business to sell. So you're not doing this for, a short time and not a long time. You're doing this in order to build something great, like something bigger. At the very least, you're going to do it for more than 6 months, more than a year for the most part. So you have to make sure that this is something that you really, really want to do before you get into it. You really have to think about, is this for me? Do I want to, sit here and look at bids until my eyes start crossing? There's a lot of people I know that thrive on that love that. I love it. I personally love looking at bids, maybe not reading through them, but I like looking at the titles and what the government is actually looking for. Those things excite me. I like those things, but everyone's not like that. So you have to ask yourself, is this for me? Or if it's not necessarily, then you can hire someone, but you have to know when you're hiring someone, are they actually like educated on government contracting? Because you hire someone that doesn't know what they're doing, then both of y'all don't know what you're doing, and then there's a whole mess. So, and then you wasting money and wasting time when you could have been doing something else that you really, really wanted to do, or really taking the time to learn about government contracting, taking my GovCon Now course. That I'm just saying, but you could be learning more about it instead of just like wasting time spending money because you don't want to do it that bad. Just saying. So that's the number 8 thing. So the number 9 thing is, are you willing to commit time to dedicate to a new business? There's some people that I know that have a business already, commercially, residentially, whatever, in the free world, and they start a whole new business with government contracting. Totally fine. That's kind of what I did. I was doing IT in the military for 20 years. I was like, no, and then decided I wanted to do janitorial, wanted to do facilities maintenance, wanted to do flooring, wanted to do painting. I don't know where that came from, but that's something that I've always been kind of like, interested in, renovating houses when I was doing real estate, blah, blah, blah. But like with that, are you willing to do this? Like, are you willing to do this with a new business? Are you like in a new way, a different way than you've been used to doing it? That does take some people it's a little challenging for some people to acknowledge that it's not going to be the same way you've always done it, especially if you've been doing business for 20, 30 years. I had some contractors that had been doing like renovating and building houses for 20, 30 years, and they never used any kind of invoicing system. And that was a lot for them. That was challenging for them. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, you need to figure out how you're going to do this because you're not getting paid otherwise. So you better talk to your grandkids, your kids, your wife, your spouse, whatever, in order to get this this payment system set up, because I'm not going to no bank and doing these random deposits. I'm not, Zelle caps you out at a certain amount. We're not doing Cash App. Boom. I'm going on my little rant. But are you in this to do it in a different way? Because more than likely, unless you just started a business, and you didn't do government contract, unless you just started a business, you're probably going to be doing this with government contracting a lot differently than you've ever done it. So just get your mind prepared for that. So that's the number 9 thing. So the number 10 thing is, the 10th and final thing is, are you willing to get out of your comfort zone? Are you willing to get out of your comfort zone? You are going to be uncomfortable so much, because there's so much growth in a relatively short period of time. Most of us have been given the grace to go to college, learn about our field, do internships, think about it, talk about it, dream about it for 4 years, and then you go into your discipline, you go into your job, right? A lot of us, though, the rest of us, I got my degree. I didn't do it in 4 years, and it has nothing to do with this. But I'm just saying, like, if you're doing something and you've just been, pretty much like doing it one way for one thing, but then also maybe you're starting something completely new, or you're doing a subset of something you were already doing. And this government contracting you're going to have to talk to a lot of people. whether it's contracting officers, people to network with, your sub. Like some of y'all, and I'm just going to be honest, because I talk about not, just picking a sub out the sky and hoping that they do right and take care of your business the way you want them to. But to me, that's a little more scary to call a random person and hope that they do right for my business rather than building in a relationship first and seeing how I feel about them. And then when the opportunity comes about, then I can give them work. You know what I mean? Like to me, that's more scary. And y'all are willing to do that over building a relationship. But nonetheless, are you willing to get out your comfort zone and network with people and, grow fast? Are you willing to grow fast? Because you can go from $0 to $100,000 a month quick as a sub. And I've seen it. I've been a person to give people those opportunities. I have subbed out work to people and they got $100,000 months for the first time ever. Like first time ever in their life. So, though that's a real super growth. And, if you don't have money management, the video I did with Free and Zoe, they talked about that. The live that I did is money management, because if you get $100,000 a month, you got to pay the sub $50,000. You got $50,000 left. It's like, oh snap, this is my money. I'm about to go blow a bag. No. That money does not belong to you. It's your business's money. You never know when you might need to mobilize another contract. So you always want to hold on to that money. You always want to. That's out of your comfort zone too. Like being broke is one thing, but having a lot of money is like the other spectrum of that. Where you're like, if you never experienced having money at that much money at that time, and then you have to be responsible for it or responsible with it. There's some people I know who have inheritances, or they had accidents and they got lump sums of money, but that's almost like, I don't want to say, dare I say, free money, because it's not tied to anything. But when you're talking about your business got $100,000 and you got $50,000 left over, that's still tied to your business, and you need to make sure that you are utilizing those funds appropriately and you're not just blowing a bag. So, I mean, it happens, like whatever. It's just make sure you get another contract in order to replenish those funds, So I would say get comfortable with being uncomfortable. There's going to be so many times, even just saying what your business does scares people. And I get it. You just it's practice. And there's only one way to practice is to do it. Like talk to as many people as possible. Everybody needs to know what you do. And don't be afraid. Stand on it. And then you'll get better with each time that you express what your company does or who you are, what you do. And then you can, you got shorter versions and longer versions. They always say elevator pitch. Elevator pitch is much longer than you would be talking to somebody generally. Usually, I think they said elevator pitch is like 30 to 60 seconds. But most of the time, when you're talking to someone, you got 10 seconds. My name is Sheena Parker, and my company, Foresight Industries, delivers facility management services to the federal government, local government, corporate agencies such as janitorial, floor repair, painting, pressure washing. So we service the entire East Coast. We're based out of Atlanta, and we provide those services. But then also on my other side with Sheenapreneur, I have a training platform where I teach people about government contracting, and I have a course, and I have a monetized YouTube channel teaching people about government contracting, and I also teach government contracting at various colleges and other veteran business platforms. So, those type of things, you just have to be able to say really, really quickly. People are like, oh, and they want to be able to get the information as, quickly as possible, and it's concise and clear, so they know exactly what you sell, who you are, and then it be somewhat memorable. So that's it. I wanted to share those 10 things for you to think about before you get into government contracting, just to see if you have what it takes. And sometimes you don't know you have what it takes until you get into it. But I'm just saying, these are some things to think about, to look for when you start looking at solicitations. Don't be afraid. Get out there and do your thing, right? So just want to share those. And remember that my GovCon Now course is available. Of course, it's available. And veterans have a forever discount. So all you got to do is reach out to me via email, and we will create a special code for you when you are ready to purchase. So you just send an email, Sheena, I'm a veteran. Here's my credentials, and I'm very interested in taking the course. Give me my discount. Like, you could say that up in the email. Give me my discount, right? Because we love veterans. We love everybody. We love everybody. But, of course, I have a special place in my heart for veterans. And please make sure you join our GovCon Moneymakers community. It's 100% free. We share information and we ask questions and we share wins in that group. We have subgroups within the group where people are meeting to go and have breakfast and brunch, and it just gives me the woman fuzzies. I just love it. When they're in their same geographical location. So I love that everyone is, embracing this GovCon life, and make sure you just do it right. Do it right, because what happens when you do it wrong, you mess it up for everybody else, and y'all trying to mess up my money, and I don't appreciate that. So if you have questions, if you're of course, a GovCon Now student or a student in another course, no problem. Just make sure you ask questions before you get into something that you may not quite understand, or Google. Google is your friend. Even ChatGPT is your friend. Ask another friend. Ask questions at conferences. Ask questions in meetings. Just get as much information as possible. Be a student of the game. That's the bonus. Number 11, that's the bonus, is being a student of the game. Constantly learning about your craft, constantly learning about government contracting and what the new up-to-date things are, because that's going to save you time, money, aggravation. So that's all I got. Until next time, it's your favorite veteran.